personal views and opinions expressed by our podcast guests are their own and are not legal advice or official statements by their organizations. Hello, my name is Debbie Reynolds. They call me the Data Diva. This is the Data Diva Talk Privacy podcast, where we discuss data privacy issues with industry leaders around the world with information that businesses need to know now. I have a very special guest on the show, Pamela Isom. She is the Chief Executive Officer and founder of IsAdvice Consulting LLC. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Well, I don't know. I don't think I can do your introduction true justice. You have very deep experience in areas of ethics, governance, innovation, technology, digital transformation. That's something you and I have in common. Risk management, AI, data, cybersecurity. You're also a keynote speaker, as I am. So I would love for you to be able to introduce yourself. Tell me how you got where you are in your career trajectory.
Okay. So I'm going to start kind of from the top, from where I am today and work backwards. So I'm CEO of IsAdvice Consulting, and the organization specializes in using AI for equity, opportunity, and sustainability. I'll explain what that means in a little bit, but it's safe. So the practice of safe AI for equity, opportunity, and sustainability. I'm a former senior executive and a director of the Artificial Intelligence and Technology Office at the Department of Energy. So I came fresh out of working at the Department of Energy and serving the federal government into running a business of my own. And prior to that, I was the senior executive over all things application engineering and development at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So in both of those cases, I was leading application development, application engineering, and overseeing at Energy in particular, all things AI. So that AI portfolio at the Department of Energy fell under my jurisdiction. So one of the good things about my work there, and then I'll get to my history, is one of the good things is I was able to establish and lead a team where we established AI ethics for the department. And also we stood up under my jurisdiction, the AI Advancement Council. The AI Advancement Council was mentioned in the blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights. And so that was yours truly. So yours truly and my team worked hard to get that council going. And so we feel good today about the executive order, because that information has carried forward as one of the examples, not in the order it influenced, it made it to the Bill of Rights. So let's talk about some of my history. So I started using AI when it was called Ops 5, and it was in the 1990s. That's all I'm going to say about my age, but it was in the 1990s, just learned it, and it was a great experience. So I started back then, just kind of using it as a software engineer. My background is I'm a computer programmer and then systems engineer. And then I moved into more IT specialist roles in the private sector, big companies. And then I landed in the private sector as executive IT architect, and from IT architecture, principal. So I was a principal. And then I hopped straight from there as I worked in the private sector, responsible for engineering and development, and I had lots of patents. I had 5, and I think 4 are still active today. So I was responsible for innovation and patent generation and leading these innovative activities. And so I was able to carry that forward and went from being on the side of the table where I am applying for patents to hopping to the other side of the fence where I'm managing the systems and enabling others to have the tools that they need to be recipients of patents and trademarks. So that's kind of my career in a nutshell. I'm very thankful for my experiences, and that's how it is. Somewhere in between there. So in everything that I've done, especially in the government, cybersecurity was a part of my responsibility because I had these systems that I had to oversee and ensure that they were deployed. And then I also was Chief Innovation Officer and the leader, executive director over cybersecurity when I was in the private sector, right when I first came out of federal government. So I definitely am very familiar with cybersecurity and that NIST, the 800 controls and all of that. So I'm sure we'll get to that.
Well, that is, oh my goodness, that's tremendous. Well, you're the perfect person to talk to about all the stuff that's happening. So, since you're someone who's been an early adopter, have seen AI go through all these different transitions over the years, what are your thoughts about where we're going with AI? Like where we come from and where we're going?
We came from what I'm used to in the past was expert systems. And so it was machine learning, not like it was a few years back, right? It was the early stages and more rules-based expert systems. So the data that you needed was right there. There was a rule. You said, if this happens, then that's what you do. But it was not procedural programming. It was rules-based and expert systems. Then AI moved into, okay, let's really get into machine learning where you're starting to learn from the data and more advanced machine learning concepts and practices. But then lately, the past couple of years, that's when generative AI really started to take hold. And that's where it's not just learning, but it's also generating text. So that's where the generative AI realm really hit and really took off. Generative AI has made such an impact. Number one, because people are now more interactive. So people like to be interactive. They like to have and feel like that they have some say so. And the prompt based approach to the generative AI makes people want to engage because you have control and you don't feel so much like it's the black box. You still know that something's going on behind the scenes, but you feel more like it's happening because of the prompts that you gave it. So if I just learn how to get the prompts better, I can get better outcomes. So it's more empowering to the users. That's where AI has come. And where I think it's going is it gets to the conversation that's happening now about the AI chatbots. So where it's going is AI is becoming more distributed. It's going to rest more in the user's hands. So it'll be in their mobile devices. There's announcements out about how you'll be able to get the AI bots from the AI stores. So at this point, the users are going to feel even more empowered. So that's what's happening. That's where it's going. I think that that's all goodness. I think that the distributed approach to AI is good. The worry that I have is the ethics and the privacy. So the ethics, the cybersecurity, the privacy is the worry that I have. Those are the things that I think we need to build in as we move along. So don't wait until after the fact. We should be thinking about these things right now, integrating this alongside the innovation.
I agree with that. Let's go deeper on that. Tell me a little bit about your concerns with the ethics and privacy. I can definitely tell you what I think.
So ethics traditionally, so accountability, are we making sure that the solutions are not going to cause any harms? Are we doing the things that we need to do to ensure that bias and discriminatory practices are not amplified throughout the outcome as a part of the outcome? So ethics, in my mind, is making sure that you have some principles in place and then operationalizing those principles through strong governance. So I always say ethical governance. Sometimes you'll hear some of my readings and I'll speak to ethical governance because governance without ethics is, I think, is useless. So we want ethical governance. You need ethics first, and the ethics need to evolve. And the reason why I say that is because the technology and the empowerment of the users is evolving. With these personality bots and these AI agents, now I'm able to create my own smaller language models and create my own AI I'm able to do it myself. So there needs to be some interactive governance there to manage this type of activity and to oversee this. And the other thing is the data. So what data are we going to be using to create these personality bots and the AI agents? So let's talk about personality bots for a minute. My big concern about that is people starting to open up to these avatars and these personality AI chatbots and opening up too much. So now all of our ethics pertaining to safeguarding information gets lost because we lose sight of the fact that these avatars are not real. And so my biggest concern today is remind people that it's artificial intelligence. It's not real intelligence. It's artificial. It's artificial. It's not real. But we can get so, especially when we start with the personality bots with avatars that are going to look like we want it to look, or look like a person that we admire. And so I forget that I'm not talking to that person. And this is happening, Debbie. Do you hear about people that are opening up to dating avatars and things, telling them too much information? Oh my gosh, like where is the privacy? So that's my concern. And where is the applied ethics? And where's the governance? Oh my gosh. So, and it's only going to exacerbate. So I'm big on ethics is so important and it needs to be evolutionary because what worked even last year, it has to be adaptive to what's going on today and tomorrow.
I agree with that. I'm also concerned there, like even in robotics, I don't like humanoid robots and stuff like that because I feel like what they're trying to do is elicit almost like an emotional response from a person. Emotions are not logic, right? So you may have a feeling when you're interacting with this bot. You're like, oh my goodness, this bot understands me. It's like, well, no, it doesn't. It's just listening to what you're saying. It's trying to give you an answer. It's not responsible, right? So I've seen people say, well, let's use it for suicide counseling. I'm like, no, absolutely not. We can't advocate our human responsibility to technology, right? So it's supposed to be a helper. And so for people who know how to use AI in the right ways, it should be a helper to humans. It shouldn't be a replacement for humans. And it certainly shouldn't be making judgments about people. But I agree with you also that people do give up too much information. I tell the people, if you want stuff to really be private, stop putting it on the internet, right? Also, I think one thing that AI is doing is using data in different ways that people probably have never anticipated. And so it's creating more challenges or more risks for people around privacy. What do you think?
I think that that's true because you don't intend for, so AI is pattern recognition. It's all about looking for patterns we didn't really think about. So it's taking this information and it's now drawing conclusions based on patterns that it's seeing. It would be good to use AI for one-on-one coaching to say, tell me some patterns that you're seeing about me and myself, and I, not for the world. Right. And so that's the risk that we take when you put things out on the internet and then these language models are looking at this data. So you have to be very wise. You have to be stewards about how we handle our own personal data as well as others, because that data is being used in ways we didn't think about.
Yeah. You mentioned expert systems for AI. And when I talk to people about AI, they're like, well, how do I know, especially with generative AI, how do I know that the result is right? Or how do I know that I'm getting the right information? And I always tell people, it's like you're asking the AI to do a particular task. If it doesn't do that task, then there's a problem, right? So the result really should be unexpected. So I think you really need to think about it that way. So the analogy I give is like if you go to Costco, order a cake for your kid's birthday, you go to pick it up and they give you a casserole. You're like, wait a minute, something wrong happened here, right? So that's what I think about AI. Like you're supposed to tell it what you want it to do. You should understand what the capabilities of the tool is. And then the result should be expected. It should be unexpected. What are your thoughts?
So the AI should generate the results that you expect, but you should verify the results. So I've been talking to some workplace investigators, and I had the pleasure of meeting with a group of workplace investigators not too long ago. And they were looking at, as an example, how do we use AI to help us with our mission, which is investigating employee practices. Maybe there's been a dispute claim and they're investigating that. So they're interviewing people, they're having conversations with folks, they're looking into information. And so what I convey to them is I think that it's perfectly fine for you to use AI to help you with your research. But I think you should be very prudent about when that information comes back. It's just like anyone else that provides information to you. You do your due diligence to verify the information that you have received. I don't think that you just take it as a grain of salt, and I never think that you should use that information to make a decision that's going to impact proceedings in court. You're going to pass that information on to a lawyer who then, uses it, so that human is impacted by it. I think that instead of doing that, you use AI to help you. It's an assistant, as we said here already. It is truly an assistant. So it is not the end all be all as much as we would like it to be. It just isn't there yet. And so how I advised them was, the other thing is, let's say you're in a setting and you're having an interview and it's you, it's your client, and then you've got your AI, right, on your device. They need to know. Tell them that you have a digital assistant and that your digital assistant is here to help to either note taking, because we have AI today for note taking, or we have it here to help you as an interviewer, because the AI can kind of let you know, I'm sensing something based on what the person says, maybe get clarification. Ask the person, could they repeat that? I didn't quite understand what they said. Ask them, will they repeat that? So I think that we should use AI for those purposes. And I think you should be transparent, let people know that you're using it, because there will be, as they start with these customized AI agents, right, and these digital assistants, we're going to be using them. They're going to be using them. And so we need to know that you're using these AI agents, and you need to be forthright and let them know that it's as a digital assistant. And if they want to use one, people that we're interviewing, if in that case, if they want to have one, they should be able to. You just need to know about it. But again, trust but verify. If you're not doing your due diligence, you're not doing a good job.
I agree. I agree. Right. So just like there was a case recently in the news where a guy, he's been a lawyer for 30 years, he should know better. He had AI write a brief for him and he submitted to a court, and a lot of the references were made up. They weren't correct. And so he got in big trouble about that. I think he got sanctioned, and it's definitely not a good look. But I mean, if you think about it in like a human perspective, let's say he had an assistant or a paralegal. Will he let his paralegal write his brief and give it to court without looking at it? That doesn't make sense, right? So I think we need to be able to put AI in its place, which is it is a helper. Is not going to supersede your knowledge and your wisdom, because it's not human like you are. And I don't think, even though I'm hearing stories about things being sentient and stuff like that, it really is not human. It's not going to be human. It may fool people, and maybe that's like a selling point. Because AI is so wild west right now, I feel like there's just so many uncheckable claims, right? Really dramatic claims being made about what these AI tools can do. These companies, they really want to sell those tools, but you, as the organization that is using it, you take the risk, right? So you have to be able to understand what this tool is doing, what am I asking it to do? Is it giving me the right thing? And want to make sure it has the right level of, like you say, ethics and governance.
Ethics, so data ethics, cybersecurity ethics, and AI ethics. We need all three forms of ethics in this situation. So that's why I usually just say ethics, right? But I'm looking at all three flavors. I'm going to tell you an incident that happened to me not too long ago. So I have this situation where I'm on a call like I am with you today. And so I'm listening, and it's not an interactive call for me. I'm just kind of listening and will chime in when needed. And I get kicked out and I just get booted out. So I try to go back in to the call. It's a group call that's for dedicated individuals. And so I was truly invited and truly accepted. I was legit. I tried to go back in. I couldn't get back in. So immediately I'm like, okay, so there's not many people. I'm a Black woman, right? So it's one of those calls where I'm probably the only one on the call, and it doesn't matter, right? It's neither here nor there. But video was on, they could see me on this call, and I got kicked out. So I try to get back in. I can't get back in. I ping someone and say, what happened? I'm not able to get back in the call. What happened? Oh, yeah. We thought you were an AI. Okay, so I'm just like, what? And so they thought I was an AI. I'm like, okay, let me get this straight. So first of all, who tells another human being that we thought you were an AI? Where's the ethics in that, right? Who tells another human being, I thought you were an AI, so I kicked you out? So then they had to clarify that. No, no, no. Okay, so no, no. Okay, so like I'm just like, okay, how are we gonna handle this? Because sometimes I try to be the adult. And so I'm like, how are we going to handle this? So I'm waiting. And so like I try again. I can't get back in. Oh yeah, they fixed it. You can get back in. And so I was like, okay, so we're not going to sit here and do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go do something else. Fix this problem. So then I get this email saying your name has AI in it together. Pamela, and then ends with A, and then begins with I. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with your script? You didn't look up? You was my background too dark? You know what I mean? So I get that we want to be good cyber stewards, but in that particular example, we need good governance, right? So that was not good. That was not good. That was not good. So there's two sides to governance, right? So there's a part of the governance where you're trying to do the right thing, you're trying to be good stewards. But then we forgot about the human aspect and how that made me feel, right? And don't ever tell me, don't do it. Now I'm like, okay, don't tell me you thought I was an AI because I'm just going to have attitude. No, I'm just kidding. So, but that's my need to have really good governance, really good stewardship. And that is where we are not today, right? So, with these types of tools.
Yeah, I'm very concerned. Basically, so the scenario, first of all, it's horrifying. The scenario that you mentioned, what happened, and I agree, the human side was not there, right? So that person basically advocated their judgment to the AI tool, but they didn't actually think. That's what God gave you a brain to think, to reason, and to make a judgment. So I don't think AI should be used to make judgments, right? I think those judgments should happen with humans. So humans should look at the data, they should make their own judgment and not abdicate their responsibility to technology.
Yeah, that was my point.
So, what is happening that you're seeing in the news right now that concerns you?
So one example is just recently, so the writer's strike is an example that I can't really talk to because I don't have all the details yet, but I understand it and I get it. But the one that really, really gets my attention is the young 14-year-old, and she had an experience where her photos were used in pornographic content through deepfakes. Okay, so one of the things that we want to do with AI, privacy, cybersecurity, all that is we have to, and it's difficult to do. In this particular case, according to what they reported, and I really appreciate the fact that she is out talking and making others aware that, hey, this is real, this is really happening. But according to what I read, they grabbed photos of her and then use those photos in inhumane ways, right? Pornographic ways. That's a form of deepfake. And so deepfakes are nothing to take lightly. Creating these images and then using somebody else's face has been going on for a while, but now it's even more pervasive. And some of it is because of the advancements in being able to create images from AI, etc. So that is what happened to her. What I like about the fact is that she brought it out. A 14-year-old who could have easily said, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed, right? But it wasn't her. It was her face, but it wasn't her, right? So I think that I appreciate the fact that she brought it to the table, but I think more so we should learn to be very careful when it comes to tracking our data, how our data is used, and then there should be stipulations in place to protect us when these things happen. And has to get better, it has to get stronger, there has to be better rights for us when these things happen. And I believe that cases like that, although we don't want it to happen, cases like that help make the point that we can be exploited and deepfakes are very, very real. I have a customer who received, because you can take audio, you can have AI create audio for you. And I have a customer, Debbie, who contacted me and said, hey, I don't know if this is truly a real situation or if this is an AI. Can you help us figure this out? So I have a great job because I was like, yeah, let me see what I can do. Right. And so that due diligence is what we have to pay attention to, because we don't know what's real nowadays and what's not. And so I teach this in my class because one of the things that I do as a part of my role now is I provide coaching and training. And I talk to clients about ways that we can start to look for flaws in the AI voiceovers and the AI imagery to help us tell whether that's genuine or not. And then I just got involved with something that has to do with content authenticity so that we can better watermarks and you can tell the lineage and the provenance of the materials.
I would love to talk about lineage and also what you said about watermarks. So, in the executive order that came out on October 30th, Joe Biden, the AI executive order, one of the things they called for is industries to find ways to mark content that is fake, that is generated by AI. As I'm thinking about this, okay, I'm a data person, been doing data stuff forever, help people create expert databases and different things. So I know a lot about how data works and how it flows. How realistic is this in terms of being able to watermark or mark some of this technology, this data that comes out of systems so that people can tell whether it's real or fake? I almost feel like if they do it, you almost need a system to read it. What are your thoughts?
Well, AI can spot itself. So it would be a good idea to use AI to detect whether it's interfacing with another AI, right? So the AI, because the AI pattern matching against pattern matching and gamification. Sometimes I talk about game theory. Put them against each other. That's a good strategy for cybersecurity too. This is cybersecurity. So authenticity, one way to do it is using AI to spot the patterns, because if it's AI generated, it has certain pixels and characteristics about it that another AI is going to know. So that's going to be one of the keys. And this is very real. like I said, I mentioned the content, I think it's called the Content Authenticity Initiative. So I applied and I'm waiting to hear back and like that, but it's important. And there are others. And so one effort that I'm involved with, I actually looked into testing their solution, is a deepfake detection system that's out there. And it detects, like I said, I had a customer and I was trying to figure out whether her over was real or fake or AI generated. And so they have a deepfake detection tool. So industry is out there creating tools. They're in the deepfake detection for some places is in its infancy, and for some it's a little bit more mature. But this is very real. It's very real.
Yeah. You mentioned provenance and lineage. So I talk a lot with companies all over the world about AI. And one of the things I always tell them is that, be prepared and think about data lineage in AI systems, right? So companies may not have, like maybe companies that are not accustomed to using AI, maybe this is a new way they're using data. They have to think about where the data came from. And so maybe in their other work, they never had to do that, right? So they're like in their company, okay, we have this data, we're going to protect this data. It doesn't matter where it came from. We're just going to protect it, or whatever. So in AI, you may have to know, it's important to know where the data came from. And it's important to know that data journey. Who did what with the data? What's in these databases? What are you putting in these models? What are you prompting? What comes out of the models? That lineage is really important. And I think that's going to really change people's work life, because as companies implement more AI, it's going to create those new obligations. What are your thoughts?
I think that that's absolutely correct and absolutely necessary. If I think back to cybersecurity roots, so one of the things that cybersecurity speaks about is supply chain risk management and cybersecurity supply chain risk management. And what you're doing is you're trying to understand the suppliers and the suppliers. Where are the supplies coming from? And that's the same for data. Where is the data originating from, and how has the data traveled? What's the lineage? And so that's really important to know. And it's more so important to know from an AI perspective, because that's how you're going to get to authentication and authenticity. So with what I started out with, is that what I'm looking at today? If it started out as Pam Isom and this is how you spell her name, is that how it's looking when I see the responses today through the AI? Or is it a different name or a different characteristic? And if so, when did that change? Was there some history? Did she get married? You know what I mean? Is there some history there that would cause the change that makes it make sense? And because we're making decisions based on this type of data, I mean, it's really important to be able to verify, is information accurate, and is information where it what we are expecting, and if it's not, why not? I'm making decisions about people are making decisions. I'll use myself. People are making decisions about me today, about my credit worthiness. And so things have changed for me because I left federal government. That doesn't mean my integrity has changed. That doesn't mean that I'm a credit risk. Don't even try it. You know what I mean? But things have changed. And so you want to understand that metadata as well as the data, which is where the lineage and the provenance comes in.
Yeah. I want to talk to you a bit about bias. And this is one reason why I decided that I want to focus my attention in emerging tech, because I'm very concerned about bias. People who look like me in digital systems, we know it is a fact that, especially in facial recognition systems, that they are very poor in a correct identification of people of color, things like that. I thought it was really interesting. I ended up at a dinner recently, and a couple of women there are retirees and Black women, and they were very concerned about AI and the bias issues, and they knew a lot about it. I thought it was really interesting. So They've been reading the reports about electric cars with AI that can't identify Black people. And these are real, and they're really concerned about it. So, what are your thoughts about bias?
My thoughts is if you want to fix it, become a part of it. I don't believe that you sit back on the sidelines and just gripe because those electric cars are still going to happen. So I love the executive order that just came out, not just because some of that is what I was doing when I was at the Department of Energy. Like that makes me feel good because I feel like things have come full circle because some of these things I was pushing for when I was at the overall things AI at the Department of Energy. But that's not why I like it. Why I like the executive order is because the executive order points out the innovations and it points out the responsibilities that we need to take, right? And one of the things that it really articulates is the need for multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary feedback and inclusion. So again, my motto is AI and emerging tech for equity, opportunity, and sustainability. You want to be a part of the solution. You don't want to be one of those that's just sitting back griping because these types of vehicles, they're not going away. AI is not going away, right? So you want to be a part of the solution. How do you become a part of this solution? Get involved. Offer to be, in fact, insist that you're a part of the red teams or that you're a part of this interdisciplinary group that is verifying and validating, testing the outcomes, because who can test for bias better than those with the lived experience?
That's right.
Just common sense, right? So don't sit back on the sidelines because here's what happens when we sit back on the sidelines. Our data is not included. They just think we don't like driving. I'm using myself as an example. Black people are not going to use driverless vehicles because they're not in the data. Or they're going to make some assumptions about it because we're not represented in the data. We don't like them. That's not true, right? That's not true. So I say become a part of the solution, figure out a way to become a part of the solution. I also think being able to be in command of these autonomous systems, I do a lot of work around skills development. So going from the one that is scared that I now have to share my workload with an AI to thinking about it from the standpoint of now I'm going to be the human in command. I mean, that's empowerment and that's a job. So they always talk about how jobs are being displaced, but there's two ways to address that, right? So your question about bias, so that I make sure I stay on track. I'm now in there, or those that are learning these skills are now there to say not so, because we're going to help test these outcomes to make sure that it is not going to hit the market because we're going to be a part of the bias detection team. So that's a job. So yes, there's displacement, but that's a job. That's a career. And it doesn't require a PhD. And we're a part of the solution. So that's really my point there. And then I just can't help but so I'm about equity. So like I keep thinking about how these are job opportunities and skills that we can develop and cultivate while we're addressing a mission, which is to make sure that it's not amplifying disparities. That's why I like the executive order, because it says that.
Yeah, I love the executive order. I'm using it a lot in some of my work as well because I think that they were able to hit the right balance and communicate it in a way that anybody can understand what the thought process is around AI. It's brilliant. If it were the world according to you, Pamela, and we did everything that you said, what would be your wish for AI, privacy, technology in the future? Whether it be human behavior, technological advancements, regulation, anything.
Well, I want to see more regulations around privacy protections. So I would want to see more in that space, particularly because of AI. And then I want to see our children learn more about how to use AI, but also how to protect themselves. So as a kid, and actually even today, I have had calls and emails. They weren't ransomware, but they could have been. So phishing, right? So I received those, and we all have. And sometimes I've had individuals call me and say, okay, let's take a look at your browser so that I can see. And I was like, why do you need to look at my browser? You told me that there's a payment due. I don't understand why you're sending me this message. Why are you wanting to look at my browser? And no, you are a scammer. I figured it out, right? So you learn not to do these things. But as a kid, I will never forget, I had a situation where someone called me and they were supposed to be my mom, and they told me to go ahead on and walk home from school today because of something. So I'm not going to be able to pick you up. So just go ahead on and walk home. So I remember I called my mom and said, Mom, do I have to walk home? I'm having fun where I'm at. Can I just get a ride with blah, 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 blah? And my mama wanted to know, what are you talking about? Right? So what are you talking about? So I should have known that that wasn't my mom, but I was a kid, right? A little kid. What are we doing for our children? They're getting these calls that sound like their loved ones, that sound like them. So start now with preparing our kids for these things, preparing our kids. If an image pops up on their screen that looks like mom, know how to tell that that's not really me, right? Because they don't know, especially the young ones, they don't know. I mean, our kids are smart as all get out, so they probably do know. They probably can say, you're a deepfake. I know all about you, but be sure. So that's what I want to see. So I want to see more work in the cybersecurity and privacy realm to help our kids, not just with legislation, but let's teach our kids. Let's have a executive order that the kids helped us come up with. You know what I mean? So that way we know that they get it, or do something fun like that, but that's also very serious. That's what I want to see with AI, because I think distributed AI is here. It's going to be on the personal devices. It's going to be there. It's not going to go away. The autonomous vehicles are not going to go away. So let's protect each other, but let's help protect our kids.
I love this. You are such a joy and a thrill to be able to talk with. And wow, this is fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Is it over? This was so good.
It's amazing. Yes, amazing. Well, I'd love to keep in touch, or maybe us find some ways we can collaborate together. And whenever they say there aren't Black people in AI, I say, hey, call Pamela.
Yeah, have them call me and let's talk cyber. We'll talk cyber some more the next time, because there's still some more stewardship things that we need to focus on. But I think we covered enough here today.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.